Hello, welcome back to I Made This. My name's Ollie and today I'm making Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider series. Yep, as always, start off by bulking out the character with a bit of tin foil or aluminium foil or aluminum, just to save on weight and plasticine pretty much. Now I'm just fleshing out the character essentially for the next, 10 minutes, just getting the shape right. You can actually buy flesh coloured plasticine from New Plast. For me it's a little bit light, so I tend to put a bit of brown and maybe a dash of yellow in it, and it just kind of brings it out a little bit more. Yeah, I've grown up with the Tomb Raider series since I was a little kid. It's one of the very first games I bought on the PC, saving up my pocket money. My PC was terrible. I had a Packard Bell. I think it had a 1 gigabyte hard drive, which is ginormous, and it couldn't even handle the FMV sequences of the game, and like barely any of the music. I'm not actually sure if there was music in the original Tomb Raider, but yeah, great game though, like fantastic. You know, it was one of the very first kind of fully realised 3D games, wasn't it? Along with Mario 64 and a few others like Alone in the Dark and stuff. And you know, it's still going to this day. You know, I used to go around to my cousin's house. I used to play all the other Tomb Raider games there because they had a chipped PlayStation. And then when I got my own, I got Tomb Raider 2 and 3 myself. I didn't play Last Revelations and Chronicles, I kind of fell off then. But I kind of got back on board when they did Tomb Raider Legacy and Anniversary and then Underworld. I enjoyed those games quite a lot. Threw my controller a fair few times. I actually think I broke a PlayStation 2 controller playing Tomb Raider Legacy. But the latest ones I think were really good, like you know, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadows of the Tomb Raider. The thing that made me laugh with the first of the new games was though that, you know, obviously Lara's never killed anyone before and stuff like that, and they make a big deal about her first kill, but then like minutes later you're just killing everyone left, right and centre. I mean, what's the word for it? Is it cognitive dissonance? You know, where there's kind of like a conflict in ideas that don't really kind of match up. And then also in Shadows of the Tomb Raider, it starts off with her like getting her leg all messed up and stuff, and you know, she's limping. But then as soon as you take control, you know, you're jumping around, cartwheeling everywhere. It's funny, but they're good fun games. I really enjoy them. So yeah, as you can see, I am fleshing out the character, and you know, I am doing breasts and all that kind of stuff. I know it's a bit awkward, but you know, it is what it is. If you don't kind of work on the shape of your character before you put all the clothes and stuff on it, it's just not going to work. So now I'm just finishing up, smoothing everything out so that every little piece that I've added on is now securely attached to the figure. Essentially what I've made is a plasticine Barbie doll really, that I'm now going to make plasticine clothing to put on top of it. And I start off by doing a template of her swimsuit. Now I do one half of it, then fold over the paper and then just cut around it, and then it's nice and even on both sides. Just double checking the size on the actual figure before rolling out the plasticine, placing on the template, and just cutting around it. Again, be careful with these craft knives, they are dangerous. Now I'm just working it onto the actual figure and just cutting it to shape, making sure it hugs the contours of the figure. Now I'm just doing the back of the swimsuit. There are quite a few different looks for Lara Croft that I could have gone for from all the various games, like from the more recent ones where she's kind of got like the ripped jeans and stuff like that, and the bow and arrow. But you know, I think last year was the 25th anniversary of Tomb Raider, so I thought I'd just keep it simple and kind of arc back to the original version of Lara Croft. So now I'm making her shorts. Not much to say about that really. Yep, still making her shorts, nothing's changed. And now I'm making like the little trims just to go at the bottom. I think in the first Tomb Raider game, I think it was originally meant to be a man, so it was a bit more like a Indiana Jones kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure why they changed it to a female character, but I bet they're glad they did, because like Lara Croft kind of became like a sensation, like a breakout video game character. You know, she was on the cover of magazines or even lad mags, I think. Also, Tomb Raider was that popular that for the release of each game, they had like a model who was essentially, I guess, cosplaying before cosplay was even like a known thing. Every year when a new game came out, they'd have a new model that kind of took over the mantle of Tomb Raider. Like you had people like Rona Mitri and Nell McAndrews were the two of the first ones that I remember anyway. Yeah, just doing her boots now. Just building up the detail now, like the tongs of the boots, and just kind of making it look like that the tongue is sunken into the boot there before I add the laces. Just doing her socks now. Filling in the little gaps. Just doing like a little bit of a ruffle of the sock so it looks like it's folded over. And now I'm doing the laces. Don't cut with a craft knife on your finger. I do that purely for the fact that my fingers are so hardened after being burnt on glue guns and what have you that they've kind of got just calluses all over them. It's a bit like that episode of The Simpsons where I think Marge and Lisa make like a patchwork quilt together, and Marge shows how tough and hardened her fingers are by like lighting her fingers on fire with a match and then stabbing it with a needle. It doesn't penetrate the skin. Just knitting up some of the edges of the socks there, just kind of tightening it up. Just adding some little details. And now I'm just bulking out the shoes by doing some heels just to kind of give it a bit of a clompy boot kind of look. And now I'm just working on the hands. I'm doing the same technique as I did for the hands for Spider-Man, where I get an Allen key or just something round, thin and round, that I then kind of roll the plasticine up into sausages and then kind of like squeeze into it, so then it's kind of makes a tube shape, then make it easy to slide the fingers onto. I've seen the first Tomb Raider movies. I mean, I can't really remember too much about them if I'm perfectly honest. I remember laughing a lot at the first film at the cinema just because of how daft it was. Angelina Jolie wasn't too bad if I remember. I mean, she certainly looked the part. I remember Chris Barry was the butler from Red Dwarf. Do you remember the training levels on all the early Tomb Raider games where you could actually lock the butler inside various rooms as he kind of followed you around with his tray? And I haven't seen the latest version, if I'm perfectly honest. And now I'm making the belt, which I'm using actual fabric, like a leatherette material. I love doing things like this and then crafting like extra little bits out of Fimo that you kind of glue on and things like that just to kind of bulk it out. It's just something I enjoy doing. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I think it's just quite satisfying when it all comes together. So I kind of messed up while doing this belt because actually her the loops that hold her guns into place actually come from the centre of her belt and kind of loop round and then loop round to the back. And I kind of didn't do that, I just had it going down the side of her leg. But I mean, I don't think you're going to not know that it's Lara Croft just from that. But I think if I was to do it again, I would have redone that. But oh well. Now I'm just making the holsters for the gun. Just cutting out a simple template before marking it out with chalk on the leatherette and then cutting those out. They kind of look a bit like underpants, don't they? And I'm just using a toy gun that I used for the Batman just to help give me the shape. Now I'm just doing some additional details like straps and things like that that go on the holster. And now I'm just gluing them onto the side. So one of Lara Croft's trademarks, originally anyway, was that she had two dueling pistols. And you know, she would do backflips and somersaults and that while shooting these guns at the same time, targeting a bat in the corner of the room, then while another one's aiming at a tiger that's coming or a dinosaur or whatever from the other corner. So yeah, I thought I'd make some of those out of Fimo. It's always good to do things like that and keep them, because then you've kind of got like a little stockpile of props and things like that that you can use for future projects. I probably made these a little too big, and sometimes it is quite hard to know how big these things are. You do a stencil and you put it in the hand of the plasticine model just to work out the size, but when it becomes realised in 3D, in 3 dimensions, it kind of ends up being a little bit bigger than you thought, but they're okay. And it's always good to keep hold of these things as well after you're done with them, because you know, you have like a bit box when you're a claymation animator where you kind of find bits and pieces and junk and stuff like that, and people look at you funny because like, what are you keeping that for? And you're like, got an idea for this in the future. And you know, it's always good that if you're making a character and you need a gun, you think, oh, I've already got some guns, or I've already got this, I've got that, and you've kind of got like a little stockpile of props or little bits and trinkets to kind of make something up if you need to. I'm just making the belt buckle now and some little straps for her bag that I'm going to make in a minute. And then you bake those for then 30 minutes until they're nice and hard. It's always really satisfying for me to add these little belts and little bits and bobs, these little accessories onto the character. It kind of really makes them feel complete. So now I'm starting to work on the backpack. I'm just doing her straps and kind of smoothing them out before I place them onto her shoulders. And then the rucksack is just literally a series of squares and rectangles really that I then kind of smooth out and add extra detail like flaps and kind of trims around the sides, and then some like kind of wrinkle marks, and then before adding some buckles and straps. It's my goal in future to make these videos look a little bit nicer. I understand that this backdrop is not the nicest. You know, when you're in the thick of making something, you don't really realise how you're making something until you play it back. And you know, it's a learning process that I'm going through with these videos. And I've been watching a lot of other channels like Craftman and bill making stuff, and it's given me lots of ideas of how I can kind of go forward with my channel and make it look a bit more unique and a bit more streamlined, look a bit nicer, so there's not pieces of scrappy paper underneath my characters and things like that. So yeah, just bear with me, it's a work in progress, but hopefully I'll get there. Now I'm making the head, and I'm pulling out a nose, putting in the eyes, and then building up the chin. And now I'm building up the upper lip before I start putting on the lips. And now I'm building up the brow area. Otherwise she'll look a little bit bug-eyed. Now I'm building up the bridge of the nose so it's not too flat. Just taking the eyes out and then just rolling around the socket just to kind of smooth them out a little bit. Just adding the lips now. It's really hard with plasticine not to make characters look too pouty, and which is probably something I actually ended up doing on this, but I did my best not to. Yeah, just filling up that upper lip now, just kind of working on the philtrum. Adding some ears before kind of blending it to the side of the head and then trimming them down and smoothing them out. Adding the ear holes and just kind of trimming around them, just kind of making them a little bit more open. It's always a pain doing hair, but it's just, you know, like I said before in previous videos, you just keep working at it and eventually you'll get to where you want your character to be in the end. But it's just a series of trial and error and just kind of constantly working at it. I wasn't too happy with the eyes, they still looked a bit bug-eyed to me, so I gave a bit more of a frown. You know, she's been busy tomb raiding all day, so you know, she's not going to be too happy. Adding the eyebrows. And just now working on the hair a little bit more. You know, this is the kind of hair that if I was to animate it, you know, I can, when she moves her head, I've got some little bits of hair that I can kind of swish around. Now I'm working on the ponytail. I just wrapped up some wire, and now I'm just putting some balls on the back of her head, essentially. I think in the first game she actually didn't have any hair. I don't think they'd kind of worked that out. It was kind of like all tied up, which I guess if you are tomb raiding all day, that'd probably be a bit better, but she had a fully flowing ponytail, and I think now she's got like, the way they can do hair in video games now is incredible. Like, it's like proper flowing hair. And there we go, there's the head. And now we're just going to attach said head onto the body, and we are done. And it's time for the reveal. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this turned out actually. I'd love to do some more video game characters in the future, you know, like characters from games like Resident Evil or Final Fantasy, Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, all those kinds of things. If you've got any ideas, please drop them down in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.